Managing Director at Retail Capital, Miguel da Silva, has lauded government's relief package for small, medium enterprises in the wake of the energy crisis in the country. It comes after Eskom's announcement of permanent load shedding, which will be over 2 years. Now, da Silva says the package will help in creating alternative sources of energy, recovering some losses and subsidizing the existing energy solutions. Well, joining us now to highlight these and in particular the mitigation strategies is Miguel da Silva. Miguel, good morning to you and thank you very much for your time. Well, let's talk about these interventions for SMMEs. If you were to spell out for us, perhaps almost in bullet points, the key highlights of the interventions being taken here in order to cushion small businesses, do they go far enough?
Yeah, I think it's important to say, look, it's important that government recognizes that small businesses have been suffering. It's devastating load shedding, which is just continuous, particularly over the festive period. And what small businesses are looking for, they're looking for support. They're looking for subsidies. They're looking for possibly funding to buy alternative solutions, generators. They need assistance. They just can't afford, to do the outlay for this type of expenditure. And government needs to step in. And I think also what's very, very important is the relief package and must be practical. It must be able to be executed quickly. We can't wait 3, 4, 5 months and businesses will close down. So whatever is implemented, the government must be listening to the small businesses on exactly what they need, and they need to do it now.
Well, let's talk to those relief packages or that relief package. Talk us through the key highlights for you of what stands out about them and whether or not this is something that is going to go some distance in making sure that small businesses endure through this period of load shedding.
Yeah, so I think it's important at the moment, government is still meeting many stakeholders, meeting the small businesses and coming up with solutions. So they actually haven't published what they'll be doing. And it's really about this message to say to government, please talk to small businesses. Don't be arm's length. You don't know what you don't know. Speak to the guys on the ground of what's needed. But it will go around things like, subsidies for diesel. Diesel for using for the generators is important, so that cost is prohibitive. Providing some funding to provide alternative, maybe solar, so incentives to install solar panels. It's all about creating mechanisms to promote the use of alternative energy to lift the load off of Eskom. And it's been done really well overseas. In Vietnam, quite interestingly, in 6 months, they resolved the load shedding by incentivizing solar panels at homes, at personal homes. So things can be done, but government needs to act now.
Alternatives. Let's talk about those. These should be the kinds of measures that help small businesses, in a way, almost get off the Eskom grid completely, because that, for me, would ensure sustenance for these businesses. Do you think that that is possible for small businesses to be able to get off the Eskom grid? If they are to do that successfully, are there alternative sources of funding we should be talking about?
Yes, there is alternative and cheaper alternatives that we need to explore. A small generator or UPS can cost as little as 1,000 Rand. Of course, that doesn't keep uninterrupted power for long times, but does make a difference. You need to look at things like installing a gas stove for a restaurant that has continuous ability to make food and so on. But more importantly, I think a lot of large banks now, a lot of the banks at the moment they're partnering with these alternative solutions and alternative energy suppliers to provide these solutions to businesses, and alternative lenders in particular are well positioned to provide funding to small businesses. So I think there's a big, right now, a focus to get these businesses through this, and I think there's the willingness within the financial sector to support these businesses.
Finally, perhaps, let's talk about changing the way these businesses do their daily operations. What could that be if indeed you are to survive as a small business? What is it that you think small businesses should be thinking about in order to conduct operations in a way that is going to make them survive? Agility, I think perhaps is the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think small businesses need to be realistic in saying load shedding is going to become permanent. It's not going to improve. So it's all about reducing your reliance on Eskom and, if possible, going totally off grid. But you can do a couple of things in the interim. You can change the way you work. Can you move offices to a building that does have energy or does have a generator? Could you negotiate with your landlord to implement a generator and defer that cost over time? It's all about trying to make a plan. And at the end of the day, this does all cost money. To mitigate not having ability to have energy takes money to resolve that. And unfortunately, that prices does need to be pushed back onto the customers. But then the small businesses may need to think about what value add can they give customers to compensate them for that. But in reality, I think we're all in this, and I think that, we have to try and make a solution together.
Miguel da Silva, thank you very much for your time and indeed your thoughts on this important subject.